If I ask you to close your eyes right now and picture the Netherlands, what's the first image that hits your retina?
Tulips.
Probably endless fields of colorful tulips, right? Maybe a windmill or a bicycle leaned against a canal bridge.
Sure, that's the postcard version.
It is.
But if you actually look at the land use data, the cultural footprint, we probably should be picturing something else entirely.
A football pitch.
A football pitch, exactly.
That's what threw me when I started looking at these sources.
Yeah.
The sheer density of the sport in the Netherlands is just, it's mind-bending.
It really is.
We're talking about a country that is physically structured around the game.
It is. I mean, to put a number on it, there are roughly 2,500 clubs spread across 170 different competitions.
And remember, the Netherlands isn't a massive country.
Not at all. You practically trip over a goalpost every time you leave the house.
2,500 teams.
Yeah.
That is just staggering. And that's exactly what we are digging into today.
Oh.
We're taking this massive stack of sources. We've got official reports from the Royal Dutch Football Association, the KNVB, and then these really gritty, almost noir-like sociological studies from Utrecht University. And we are going to unpack the Dutch football system.
And the mission for this deep dive is really to look at the massive contradiction at the heart of it all.
Yeah.
Because on one side, as we'll see, Dutch football acts as this incredible multi-billion-euro social safety net. It saves lives. Quite literally, it's a miracle of social cohesion.
But on the other side,
It is.
well, it's chaotic. We found reports on a bizarre underworld of aggression, matches being abandoned by the thousands.
And even criminal infiltration where amateur clubs are being used for money laundering.
It's total football, but it's also total chaos.
It really is a story of extremes. You have the beautiful game generating massive value for society, and at the same time harboring this creeping process of corruption that's rotting it from the inside out.
So, let's unpack this. We have to start with the structure itself because, well, and even that is unique. I thought I knew how football leagues worked. You win, you go up, you lose, you go down.
Standard stuff.
Right. But the Dutch system, it has this quirk in the second division that I absolutely love.
It does. So to set the stage, just imagine a pyramid with 10 levels.
Okay.
At the very top, you have the 2 professional levels. Level 1 is the Eredivisie, the honor division. That's your Ajax, PSV, Feyenoord.
The big names.
Level 2 is the Eerste Divisie. Then levels 3 through 10 are all the amateur ranks, starting with the Tweede Divisie.
Right. The pyramid makes sense. But it's that second level, the Eerste Divisie, where things get really, really interesting. There is this rule called the period champions, or periode kampioenen. And honestly, when I first read it, it sounded like something a board game designer came up with.
To keep people from quitting halfway through Monopoly.
Yeah.
It is a fascinating mechanism. It's designed to keep the competition alive for everyone. So here is how it works. The season is split into 4 distinct periods.
Okay.
Period 1 is rounds 1 to 9, period 2 is rounds 10 to 19, and so on.
Okay, stop there for a second, because this is actually a brilliant piece of behavioral psychology.
It is.
Usually in sports, if you tank the first 10 games, your season is just over. You have nothing to play for. Motivation hits 0.
Exactly. And that's when things get ugly, attendance drops, players stop training, the quality suffers. But the period system, it changes the incentive structure entirely.
It's like a video game save point.
Yeah.
You can crash your car in level 1 and level 2, but if you drive perfectly in level 3, you still get to fight the boss at the end.
That is a perfect analogy. You could be sitting 12th in the table, technically mediocre.
Right.
But because you had that one hot streak in November where you dominated period 2, you have a golden ticket in your pocket. You get a bronze shield, but more importantly, a guaranteed spot in the promotion playoffs at the end of the year.
This is the part that blows my mind. You could be terrible for the first 9 games.
Right.
You could be terrible for the last 10 games. But because you had that one moment of brilliance, you are still fighting for promotion to the top tier.
Precisely. It introduces this artificial element of hope. A team can be mediocre overall, but still achieve something significant. It adds a whole new psychological layer.
It keeps the fans engaged.
It keeps the fans engaged because, technically, every few months, the slate is wiped clean.
I love that. It's
Yeah.
manufactured drama, but it works. However, while the professional leagues are trying to pull teams up with these clever rules, there's a strange friction when you look at the boundary.
Between the professional and amateur worlds.
Yeah. This was in the sources about the transition from the Tweede Divisie, the top amateur level, to the professional Eerste Divisie.
And this is a uniquely Dutch problem.
Usually, amateur teams dream of going pro. That's the movie script. The underdogs make it to the big leagues. But here, the sources say many amateur clubs actually refuse promotion. They don't want to go up. Why on earth would you turn that down?
Well, it comes down to bureaucracy and, frankly, secrets. To move from level 3 to level 2, a club has to submit a very robust business plan to the KNVB.
Okay.
They have to meet strict stadium requirements, security protocols, financial transparency rules.
Transparency. I think I see where this is going.
Many of these top amateur clubs, they operate in a gray area. The sources mention they don't want to lose their shadow income sources.
Huh.
They are comfortable being big fish in the amateur pond because the spotlight of professional regulations would expose things they'd rather keep hidden.
Which is a perfect bit of foreshadowing for later when we talk about the criminal element.
It is.
But before we get to the dark side, we have to give credit where it's due. Because when this system works, it works on a scale that is just hard to comprehend.
Yeah, we have this report on the social return on investment, or SROI.
This is a crucial piece of data.
It comes from a model used by UEFA and developed with 9 different universities. They crunched the numbers to figure out what amateur football is actually worth to Dutch society in, euro terms.
And the headline number is just massive. The sources say amateur football contributes 5.23 billion euros annually.
It's an enormous figure.
Hold on, though. 5.23 billion. That sounds generous.
It does.
I mean, are they just counting every time someone goes for a jog and saying, you just saved the hospital 10 euros? How do you actually prove that kicking a ball on Sunday prevents a heart attack on Thursday?
I was skeptical, too, when I first saw the report. It sounds like a made-up marketing number to make the Football Association look good.
Right.
But if you look at the methodology, this isn't back-of-the-napkin math. It's a UEFA model validated by 9 universities. It is purely actuarial.
So walk me through it. How do they get to 5 billion?
Okay, so they look at the 1.2 million active players. If those people weren't playing, statistically, X% would develop type 2 diabetes or cardiovascular issues based on national averages. The biggest chunk of that value, 2.54 billion, is strictly healthcare savings.
Okay, so it's the cost of the treatments that didn't happen.
Exactly. Preventative value. Specifically for mental health, the report attributes over 42 million in savings directly to participation in amateur football.
Wow.
And that's just the medical bill?
There's the social side too, right? Because you have people actually talking to each other instead of scrolling on their phones.
Correct. The model assigns a value of 1.42 billion to social impact. This includes the value of volunteer opportunities. Remember, there are 400,000 volunteers keeping this machine running.
An army of them.
And just the general social cohesion it builds, it acts as a glue for the community.
And then there's the economic impact, which was around 1.27 billion.
That's players spending money on their hobby boots, kits, travel, beers in the canteen, but also jobs. The amateur game creates about 117,000 part-time or full-time jobs.
There was one statistic in the KNVB report that really stuck with me, and I think it explains why these numbers are so high.
Okay.
It said that, on average, every single person in the Netherlands lives just 1.6 kilometers from a football club.
That is the key right there.
Isn't that incredible?
Think about what that means for a community. It means the football club isn't some distant stadium you drive an hour to. It's a local hub. It's a social network.
It's the third place.
For many people, it's the third place. Not home, not work, but the club.
It sounds idyllic. A club on every corner, people getting healthy, volunteers pitching in. It's the social safety net in action.
It is.
But here is where it gets really interesting and, frankly, a little scary. The same passion that creates that 5 billion euro value also creates a serious problem with aggression.
It's the other side of the coin. The intensity that drives community can also drive conflict. You can't have that much emotion concentrated in one place without sparks flying.
And the data from the last season is alarming.
Yeah.
The sources state that 1,864 matches were stopped due to violent incidents.
Stopped. Not just a yellow card. The game was abandoned.
Nearly 2,000 matches. That's not just a few arguments. That's an 11% increase from the year before and a 58% increase over 5 years.
A massive spike.
That is a massive spike.
It is a worrying trend, and the KNVB is taking it very seriously. In fact, they are considering a proposal that sounds almost sacrilegious to football purists.
Oh, this blew my mind. To stop the fights, they are thinking about abolishing the offside rule in amateur football.
It sounds radical, doesn't it?
It sounds impossible. Offside is a fundamental law of the game. It dictates the shape of the play. Why on earth would they do that?
Well, look at the root cause of the violence. Most of these aggressive incidents start with a dispute over a decision.
A bad call.
Right. In amateur football, you don't have professional linesmen with VAR technology. You have club volunteers waving the flag.
Right, so you have a volunteer from the home team raising their flag against the away team striker who is through on goal and suddenly tempers flair.
Exactly. It is the #1 trigger for aggression. The director of the KNVB, Jandrik van der Zee, was quoted saying, "We have a problem and we want to root it out."
Wow.
He even said he wouldn't rule out removing assistant referees entirely. The logic is, if the rule causes the fights, remove the rule.
That is such a pragmatic, almost ruthlessly Dutch solution. This rule causes inefficiency and violence. Gone.
Pretty much.
But surely they have tried softer approaches. Respect campaigns, handshakes, posters in the locker room.
They have, and the sources are quite blunt about this. Those measures haven't worked. The KNVB admits that prevention and training had no effect.
Ouch. That's a bleak assessment of human nature.
In fact, if you look back to 2012, they had a crackdown where they banned 105 teams and suspended 200 people for up to 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. The conclusion they drew back then, and are drawing again now, is that only harsh punishment or structural changes like changing the rules of the game seems to curb the violence.
It raises a pretty heavy question about society, doesn't it? If we have to change the rules of a sport because we can't stop punching each other over a bad call. That says something.
It does.
But look, aggression is one thing. That's heat-of-the-moment stuff. There is a deeper layer of rot here, one that goes beyond someone shouting at a referee. This is where we get into that Utrecht University report titled Een Soepende Process, or a gradual process.
This report is fascinating because it details how organized crime infiltrates these amateur clubs. And the title is perfect. It is a creeping process. It doesn't happen overnight.
So how does it start? Do you just have a mob boss walking in and buying the team like it's a scene from The Sopranos?
Not quite. It usually starts with what they call a sugar daddy sponsor.
Someone local, maybe a businessman who is doing well, or seems to be. He offers money that feels a little too good to be true.
The club is struggling, the canteen needs a new roof, the kits are old, and this guy shows up with a checkbook.
Exactly. These clubs are what the researchers call hybrid organizations. They are desperate for cash to survive, but they're run by volunteers.
So they're vulnerable.
Extremely. So when someone offers a lifeline, they take it, but then the strings start to attach.
What kind of strings?
The sponsor starts demanding control. They want to join the board. They start dictating which players to sign.
Right?
Suddenly, the democratic process of the club is undermined. The sponsor is calling the shots.
And the sources mention some huge red flags that people ignore. There were mentions of players in the second or third amateur divisions earning serious money.
Yes, the report highlights cases of amateur players earning 1,500 euros per month.
For playing one game and attending one training session a week.
Exactly.
1,500 euros. For a hobby, that's a salary. For a student, it absolutely is. The report mentions students funding their entire education by playing amateur football.
But the money has to come from somewhere.
And this is where the visualization helps. It's not a wire transfer.
No. The sources were specific about this.
Think about the mechanics of it.
Yeah.
You have a sponsor with a stack of cash from, let's just say, off-book activities.
Okay.
He can't put that in the bank because the tax man is watching.
Right.
But he can give it to the club chairman in the back of a car. That cash gets put into envelopes and handed to the star striker in the locker room.
Ah.
Now, the striker is happy, he scores goals, the team wins, and the sponsor gets to stand in the VIP box shaking hands with the mayor.
So the money doesn't necessarily get cleaned in the traditional banking sense, but the influence is bought with dirty money. It buys social status.
Exactly. It creates a local fiefdom. And it avoids the KNVB volunteer allowance caps, which are supposed to be a maximum of 180 euros. It's classic money laundering in the sense that illegal funds are fueling a legitimate enterprise.
And the scary part is the culture of silence. The researchers from Utrecht said they struggled to find anyone willing to talk.
That was a key finding. People are afraid.
Of what?
They are afraid of threats from the sponsors, they are afraid of the tax authorities, the FIOD, and they are afraid of the police. But also, board members are often embarrassed.
They feel shame.
A lot of shame that they let their club get captured. They thought they were helping the club, and suddenly they are in bed with criminals.
It's the boiling frog analogy. You don't realize the water's getting hot until it's too late. It's tragic, really.
It is.
You have this institution that contributes 5 billion euros to society, but its financial vulnerability makes it a perfect host for this parasitic criminal element.
It creates a very complex picture. The KNVB and the municipalities are trying to fight it, suggesting better monitoring of finances and spotting sudden success as a warning sign.
Meaning, if a village team suddenly signs 5-star players, questions should be asked.
Exactly. If the local pub team is suddenly playing like Real Madrid, maybe check the books.
Right. Now, speaking of changes in modernization, there is one more structural shift the sources mention that affects the weekend rhythm of the Netherlands.
The weekend wars.
Yes, the historic split between Saturday and Sunday football.
Now, to an outsider, this might just sound like a scheduling preference, but in the Netherlands, this is deep cultural history.
It's not just about when you want to wake up.
No. This goes back to the pillars of Dutch society. Historically, the Protestants played on Saturday because Sunday was strictly for rest and worship.
Okay.
The Catholics, and later the working class or secular clubs, played on Sunday. It was a divide that ran through the entire country.
And this changed recently, right?
As of 2023, the KNVB merged these into regional groups. The goal was practical: reduce travel times.
Right.
Instead of driving across the province to find another Saturday team, you play the village next door, regardless of their tradition.
So when the KNVB says we are merging the leagues, they aren't just changing a calendar. They are dismantling a century of religious and social tradition.
They really are. And they had to keep a loophole. Principled Saturday clubs retain the right to play their home games on Saturdays.
It's a compromise.
It's a compromise, but it highlights how the KNVB is constantly tweaking this massive machine. Whether it is merging leagues to save gas money or proposing to ban offside to save referees from getting punched, they are constantly trying to keep the system running.
So what does this all mean? We have taken a deep dive into the pyramid, the period champions, the billions in social value, the violence, and the crime. When you zoom out, what are we looking at?
We are looking at a mirror of society itself. The Dutch football system is incredible because of its scale. It touches almost everyone. That is why it generates so much health and happiness. But because it is so open, so accessible, and so desperate for resources, it absorbs the problems of society too.
It's not just a game. It's a massive living organism. It heals people, but it can also get sick.
Exactly. It's a well-oiled machine generating social value, but it is so massive, it has become a hiding place for money laundering and a breeding ground for frustration. You can't have the openness without the vulnerability.
It's a powerful takeaway. The very things that make it great, the local access, the volunteer spirit, are the cracks where the darkness seeps in.
Yeah.
And that leads to the big question we have to grapple with.
Right.
I want to leave the listener with this thought, because it's been spinning in my head since we read the source on the offside rule.
Go on.
If we are at a point where we are willing to change the fundamental laws of a sport abolishing offside just to prevent people from attacking each other on a Sunday morning, is that a victory for safety or is it a defeat for civility?
It is a profound question. Are we solving the problem, or are we just lowering the bar because we can't behave ourselves?
Something to mull over the next time you drive past those floodlights on a Tuesday evening. There's a whole world happening on that. Pitch heroes, villains, and everything in between.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive.
Until next time.